As dawn broke over the ruins of New York, the Resistance prepared for their boldest move yet. Thanks to Dr. Chen's discovery, they now had a weapon against the aliens. But using it would be dangerous. Jake stood with Sarah and Dr. Chen, looking at a makeshift map of the city. "We need to test the disruptor on a smaller target first," Sarah said. "If it works, we can plan something bigger." Dr. Chen nodded, pointing to a spot on the map. "There's a small alien outpost here. It's guarded, but not as heavily as their main bases. It could be perfect for a test run." Jake felt a mix of excitement and fear. "When do we move?" "Tonight," Sarah replied. "We can't waste any more time." As the sun set, turning the red sky to a deep crimson, a small team from the Resistance made their way through the empty streets. Jake carried the disruptor, a strange device cobbled together from alien tech and human ingenuity. It looked like a mess of wires and metal, but it was their best hope. They reached the alien outpost, a small building surrounded by a shimmering force field. Two alien guards stood at attention, their forearms holding weapons that glowed with an eerie light. Jake took a deep breath and activated the disruptor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, the force field collapsed. The alien guards stumbled, their weapons flickering and dying. "It worked," Jake whispered, his voice filled with awe. Sarah didn't waste a moment. "Move in," she ordered. The Resistance team rushed forward. The aliens, caught off guard, and without their advanced weapons, were quickly overwhelmed. For the first time, humans had won a battle against the invaders. Inside the outpost, they found a treasure trove of alien technology. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up as she examined the strange devices. "With these, we can improve our disruptor, make it stronger with a wider range." As they prepared to leave, Jake noticed something on one of the alien screens. It showed a map of Earth with red dots marking major cities. But one dot, over a place in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, was larger than the others. "What's that?" he asked, pointing to the strange marking. Dr. Chen studied it, her face growing serious. I think that's their main base, the heart of their invasion." The news spread quickly through the Resistance network. All around the world, humans began to realize that they had a real chance to fight back. More raids were planned, targeting alien outposts and gathering technology. But the aliens weren't blind to this sudden change. In their massive ships hovering above the cities, the alien leaders began to worry. For the first time since their arrival, they faced real opposition. The alien commander, a tall figure with skin like polished obsidian, called for a meeting. "These humans are becoming a problem," it said, its voice a low rumble. "We must crush their resistance before it grows stronger." The aliens launched a series of brutal attacks, targeting areas where they suspected resistance activity. Whole city blocks were destroyed, and many humans were captured or killed. But their actions only fueled the resistance further. More and more people joined the fight, angry at the aliens' cruelty and inspired by the small victories humans had achieved. In the resistance base, Sarah gathered everyone for an important meeting. "We've made progress," she said, her voice strong and determined. "But now we face a greater challenge. We know where their main base is, and we need to strike it." Jake looked around at the faces of his fellow resistance members. He saw fear there, but also courage and hope. They had come so far from the helpless people they were when the invasion began. "It won't be easy," Sarah continued. "But if we can take out their main base, we might be able to turn the tide of this war. Who's with me?" The response was immediate and unanimous. Every hand in the room went up. Every voice joined in a cheer of agreement. As the meeting ended and plans began to form, Jake felt a surge of determination. The aliens had mocked human resistance, thinking them weak and primitive. But now, the tables were turning. The real battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show its true strength. 2 months after the alien invasion, the world had changed beyond recognition. The once bustling cities now stood silent, their streets empty except for alien patrols. The red sky had become a constant reminder of humanity's new reality. In the abandoned subway tunnels beneath New York, Jake and the resistance group led by Sarah worked tirelessly. They had turned the dark, damp spaces into a hidden base, gathering food, supplies, and any working technology they could find. "We need to understand their weapons," Sarah said during one of their meetings. Her face was lit by the dim glow of battery-powered lamps. "If we can figure out how they work, maybe we can find a way to fight back." Jake nodded, remembering the green beams that had disabled all technology. "But how? We can't even get close to their ships or towers without being spotted." A new voice spoke up from the shadows. "I might have an idea." Everyone turned to see Dr. Emily Chen, a scientist who had joined their group a week ago. "I've been studying the patterns of the alien patrols. There's a gap in their surveillance every night at 2 a.m. It only lasts for 5 minutes, but it might be enough." Sarah's eyes lit up with hope. "Enough for what?" "To get a sample," Dr. Chen replied. "If we can get a piece of their technology, even a small one, I might be able to study it." The plan was risky, but it was the first real chance they had. Jake volunteered for the mission, along with a former thief named Carlos who knew how to move silently and pick locks. That night, under the cover of darkness, Jake and Carlos crept through the empty streets. They moved from shadow to shadow, their hearts pounding with every step. The alien tower loomed above them, a black monolith against the red sky. As they neared the base of the tower, they saw alien guards. The creatures were tall and slender, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. Jake and Carlos froze, barely daring to breathe. Then, at exactly 2 a.m., something strange happened. The aliens suddenly stood still, as if frozen in place. The strange hum that always came from the tower went silent. "Now," Carlos whispered. They sprinted towards the tower. At the base, they found a small panel. Carlos worked quickly, his skilled fingers prying it open. Inside, they saw a tangle of strange, glowing wires. Carlos pulled out a small piece, no bigger than a coin. Just then, the hum of the tower started again. The aliens began to move. Jake and Carlos ran, clutching their precious prize. They made it back to the subway entrance, just as an alien patrol rounded the corner. Back at the resistance base, Dr. Chen examined the alien technology with excitement. "This is incredible," she muttered, peering at it through a microscope. "It's like nothing I have ever seen before." Over the next few weeks, Dr. Chen worked day and night to understand the alien device. Others in the resistance group began to worry that they were wasting time, but Sarah insisted on patience. Finally, after a month of work, Dr. Chen called everyone together. Her eyes were bright with excitement and lack of sleep. "I've figured it out," she said. "The aliens use a form of energy we've never seen before, but more importantly, I know how to disrupt it." A murmur of excitement ran through the group. "What does this mean?" Jake asked. Sarah answered, her voice filled with determination. "It means we can fight back. We can disable their weapons, their shields, maybe even their ships." For the first time since the invasion, hope began to spread through the resistance. They weren't just hiding anymore. Now they had a chance to strike back. News of their discovery spread to other resistance groups around the world. Using old radios and secret codes, they shared Dr. Chen's findings. All over the planet, humans began to prepare. The aliens, still confident in their superiority, didn't notice the change. They continued to mock the humans, broadcasting images of failed attacks and captured rebels. But their mockery would soon turn to fear. As Jake looked around at the determined faces of his fellow resistance members, he felt a surge of pride and hope. The fight for Earth was just beginning, and humanity was ready. 1 year had passed since the great alien retreat. Earth was a changed planet, but it was changing for the better. The sky, once an angry red, had returned to its natural blue. Cities were being rebuilt, stronger and more advanced than before, using a mix of human ingenuity and alien technology. Jake walked through the streets of New York, marveling at the progress. Humans and friendly aliens worked side by side, repairing buildings and setting up new clean energy systems. The alien towers that once inspired fear now served as centers of learning and technological advancement. He made his way to the Global Unity Center, formerly the Alien Command Base, for an important meeting. Sarah greeted him at the entrance, her face showing both excitement and concern. "We've received a transmission," she said as they walked inside. "From deep space. It's the alien homeworld." Jake's heart raced. What do they want? They entered the main hall, where leaders from around the world had gathered. Dr. Chen stood before a large screen, ready to play the message. The screen flickered to life, showing an alien unlike any they had seen before. It spoke, its words translated into multiple languages. "People of Earth," it began, "we are the Council of Elders from the planet Zorth. We have watched the recent events on your world with great interest. The invasion force we sent was acting against our wishes, led by extremists who believed conquest was the only way forward." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jake and Sarah exchanged surprised glances. The alien continued, "Your resistance, your unity in the face of overwhelming odds, and your compassion towards those who chose to defect has impressed us greatly. We wish to extend an invitation. Join us in the Galactic Alliance." The room erupted in excited chatter. Sarah called for quiet, and the alien elder spoke again. "This alliance would mean sharing of knowledge, cultural exchange, and mutual protection. But we understand if you need time to consider. The choice is yours." As the transmission ended, debates immediately broke out. Some were excited by the prospect of joining the galactic community. Others were wary, remembering the pain of the invasion. Jake found himself approached by both humans and friendly aliens, all asking for his opinion. He had become something of a hero, a symbol of human resistance and adaptability. "What do you think we should do, Jake?" a young woman asked. Jake took a deep breath. I think this is the opportunity of a lifetime. We've proven we can defend ourselves. Now it's time to see what we can accomplish as part of something bigger." Over the next few weeks, discussions were held around the world. Scientists, politicians, and everyday citizens all had their say. Finally, a global vote was held. The result was clear. Earth would join the Galactic Alliance. Preparations began immediately. The first joint human-alien space fleet was constructed, using technology that would have seemed like magic just a year ago. Jake, Sarah, and Dr. Chen were chosen to be part of the first delegation to visit the alien homeworld. As they boarded the sleek spaceship, Jake couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. He thought back to that first day when the sky turned red, how helpless they had all felt. Now, they were embarking on a journey beyond their wildest dreams. Sarah stood beside him, looking out at the crowd gathered to see them off. "Ready to make history again?" she asked with a smile. Jake nodded. "You know, when this all started, the aliens mocked our resistance. They thought we were primitive, easy to conquer, and now they're inviting us to join them as equals," Dr. Chen added, joining them. As the ship's engines roared to life, Jake felt a surge of pride and excitement. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, more united, and ready for the next great adventure. The ship rose into the air, higher and higher until the blue of Earth's sky gave way to the star-filled blackness of space. As they accelerated towards their rendezvous with the Galactic Alliance fleet, Jake knew that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. The aliens had once mocked human resistance, but that resistance had led to something greater than anyone could have imagined. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were part of something bigger, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might hold. As Earth shrank to a blue marble behind them, Jake smiled. The future was bright, and it belonged to all of them. humans and aliens alike. The day the sky turned red was the day everything changed. It started like any other Tuesday morning. People rushed to work, children went to school, and the world spun on as usual. But at exactly 10:17 a.m., every clock on Earth stopped. Jake Miller, a young office worker in New York City, looked up from his computer screen when he noticed the sudden silence. The usual buzz of the city had vanished. He walked to the window and gasped. The sky, once a clear blue, now glowed an angry red. Huge, dark shapes appeared in the crimson sky. They looked like upside-down pyramids, each one as big as a city block. Jake's heart raced as he watched more and more of these strange objects fill the sky. Suddenly, a deafening sound shook the entire building. It was like 1,000 trumpets blowing at once. Jake covered his ears, but it didn't help. The noise seemed to come from inside his head. All across the world, people experienced the same thing. In London, Paris, Tokyo, and every other city, the alien ships appeared. Panic spread quickly. People ran into the streets, looking up at the sky in fear and wonder. The world's governments tried to respond. They sent fighter jets to investigate the strange ships. But as soon as the planes got close, they simply stopped working. They fell from the sky like stones, their pilots barely escaping with their lives. Next, the military tried missiles. They launched everything they had at the alien ships, but the missiles exploded harmlessly against an invisible shield. The aliens seemed untouchable. As night fell, the aliens made their first move. Beams of green light shot down from the ships. Wherever the beams touched, chaos followed. Cars stopped working. Buildings lost power. All technology simply died. In just one day, the aliens had disabled most of Earth's defenses. People huddled in their homes, afraid and confused. The internet was down, phones didn't work, and even battery-powered radios were silent. On the second day, the aliens spoke. Their message played from every working speaker and screen left on Earth. The voice was deep and emotionless. People of Earth, it said, "We have come to claim your world. Your weapons are useless. Your technology is primitive. Surrender now, and you may live as our servants. Resist, and you will be destroyed." The message repeated in every language, making sure everyone understood. The world's leaders tried to discuss what to do, but with most communication systems down, it was nearly impossible to coordinate. Some countries decided to fight back. They gathered what working weapons they could and attacked the alien ships. But it was no use. The aliens' technology was far too advanced. They easily defeated every human attack. The aliens laughed at these attempts to resist. They'd broadcast images of the failed attacks, mocking the humans' efforts. "See how weak they are," the alien voice said. "Their resistance is pointless and amusing." As the days passed, more and more people gave up hope. The aliens began to land their ships and build strange structures. They looked like giant black towers, reaching high into the red sky. No one knew what they were for, but they filled everyone with dread. But not everyone had given up. In secret, small groups of people started to form. They whispered plans and gathered whatever resources they could. These resistance groups were small and scattered, but they were determined. Jake found one of these groups in the ruins of New York. They met in an old subway tunnel, planning and dreaming of a way to fight back. "We can't give up," their leader, a former soldier named Sarah, told them. "As long as we're alive, there's hope." The aliens didn't see these small groups as a threat. They thought humans were too weak and primitive to ever be a real danger. This was their first mistake. As the alien towers grew taller and the red sky became the new normal, humanity's future looked dark. But in hidden places all around the world, a spark of resistance was growing. The aliens had mocked human resistance, but they would soon learn that humans were far more resourceful and determined than they could have ever imagined. The underground base buzzed with activity. It had been a week since the Resistance discovered the location of the aliens' main base, and every moment since then had been spent preparing for the biggest operation in human history. Jake moved through the crowded tunnels, dodging people rushing back and forth with armfuls of equipment. He found Sarah in what they called the War Room, a large chamber filled with maps, screens, and communication devices. "Report," Sarah said as Jake entered. "We've made contact with resistance groups in Europe and Asia," Jake replied. "They're on board with the plan. South America and Africa are still silent, but we're trying to reach them." Sarah nodded, her face serious. "Good. We'll need everyone for this to work." Dr. Chen burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "I've done it," she exclaimed. "I've improved the disruptor. It can now affect a much larger area." This was the news they had been waiting for. With the improved disruptor, they had a real chance against the alien base. Over the next few days, the plan came together. Resistance groups from around the world would launch simultaneous attacks on alien outposts, creating a distraction. Meanwhile, a small team would infiltrate the main base in the Pacific. As the day of the attack approached, tension in the base grew. Everyone knew the stakes. This could be their one chance to turn the tide of the war. The night before the mission, Jake couldn't sleep. He wandered the tunnels, eventually finding himself in a quiet corner where he could see a small patch of the red sky through a grate. "Nervous?" a voice asked. Jake turned to see Carlos, the ex-thief who had become one of his closest friends in the Resistance. Jake nodded. "What if we fail? What if this is our last chance and we blow it?" Carlos put a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Then we go down fighting. But hey, we've made it this far. Who says we can't go all the way?" As dawn broke, the Resistance base was a flurry of activity. Sarah gathered everyone for a final briefing. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. And remember, the aliens might have advanced technology, but we have something they don't: the will to be free." A cheer went up from the crowd. Jake felt a surge of pride and determination. They were ready. The first phase of the plan went into action. All around the world, resistance groups launched attacks on alien outposts. Reports came in from London, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other cities. The aliens, caught off guard by the coordinated assault, scrambled to respond. In the confusion, a small submarine slipped out of New York Harbor. On board were Jake, Sarah, Dr. Chen, Carlos, and a handful of their best fighters. Their destination: the alien base in the Pacific. The journey was tense. Every moment, they expected to be discovered. But luck was on their side. After 2 days of careful navigation, they'd reached the coordinates of the alien base. What they saw took their breath away. Rising from the ocean was a massive structure, like a city-sized pyramid made of shimmering black metal. Alien ships buzzed around it like angry bees. "There it is," Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. "The heart of the invasion." Dr. Chen checked her equipment one last time. "The disruptor is ready. Once we're inside, we'll have about an hour before they can adapt to it." Jake looked at his teammates. Despite the danger ahead, he saw determination in every face. They had come so far, fought so hard. Now, it was time for the final push. "Let's do this," he said. As their submarine began its approach to the alien stronghold, Jake felt a mix of fear and excitement. The aliens had mocked human resistance, but they were about to learn just how fierce that resistance could be. The battle for Earth's future was about to begin. The captured alien base buzzed with activity. Humans from resistance groups around the world had gathered there, turning it into the new headquarters for Earth's defense. Jake watched as Dr. Chen and other scientists pored over alien technology, trying to unlock its secrets before the reinforcements arrived. Sarah called a meeting of resistance leaders. "We've dealt them a major blow," she said, standing before a holographic map of Earth. "But we can't let our guard down. Their reinforcements will be here in 3 days. A resistance leader from China spoke up. We've been studying their communication signals. It seems not all the aliens agree with this invasion. Some of them want to retreat. This news sparked excited chatter among the group. Jake felt a glimmer of hope. If some aliens wanted to leave, maybe they could use that to their advantage. Over the next 2 days, humans worked tirelessly to prepare. They used the alien base's advanced communication system to coordinate with resistance groups worldwide. Factories that had been dormant since the invasion sprang to life, producing weapons based on the alien technology they'd captured. Jake found himself working alongside Carlos to train new recruits in using the alien weapons. Remember, he told a group of nervous-looking civilians, "These weapons may look strange, but they're just tools. You are the real weapon." As the deadline approached, tension filled the air. Everyone knew the coming battle would decide the fate of humanity. On the morning of the 3rd day, the alien reinforcements arrived. The sky darkened as thousands of ships entered Earth's atmosphere. But this time, Earth was ready. Sarah's voice rang out over the global communication network. "All units, commence Operation Thunderstrike." Across the planet, humans launched a coordinated attack. Missiles enhanced with alien technology streaked into the sky. Captured alien ships, now piloted by humans, engaged the enemy in fierce dogfights. From the command center, Jake watched the battle unfold on massive screens. It was chaos, but in the midst of it, he could see that the humans were holding their own. For every human ship that fell, 2 alien ships went down. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Enemy forces have breached the base," a voice shouted over the intercom. Jake grabbed his weapon and raced towards the breach point with a team of defenders. They found themselves face to face with a group of alien soldiers. But these aliens looked different. Their movements were erratic, almost desperate. As the fight raged on, Jake noticed something strange. Some of the aliens were surrendering, throwing down their weapons and holding up their hands in a very human gesture of defeat. One of the aliens stepped forward, its voice translating through a device. "We wish to defect," it said. "Not all of us agree with this war. We want it to end." Jake was stunned. He looked at his teammates, seeing his own surprise mirrored in their faces. After a moment of hesitation, he lowered his weapon. "Then let's end it together," he said. News of the alien defectors spread quickly. More and more alien ships began to stand down, their crews choosing to surrender rather than continue a war they no longer believed in. In the command center, Sarah received reports from around the world. Alien forces were retreating, pulling back from cities and military bases. Those that continued to fight were quickly overwhelmed by the combined forces of humans and defectors. As the day wore on, it became clear that the tide had turned decisively in humanity's favor. The aliens who had once mockingly brushed off human resistance were now fleeing in fear, their grand invasion crumbling before their eyes. Jake stood with Sarah, watching as alien ships streaked away from Earth, retreating into space. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with awe. "We actually won." Sarah nodded, a smile on her tired face. "We did more than win a war, Jake. We showed them, and ourselves, what humanity is truly capable of when we stand together." As celebrations erupted around the world, Jake felt a mix of joy and disbelief. The fight had been long and hard, but humanity had emerged victorious. And as he looked at the faces of humans and friendly aliens working side by side to rebuild, he knew that the future held incredible possibilities. The aliens had come to conquer, mocking human resistance. But in the end, it was the aliens who fled, leaving behind a humanity that was stronger, more united, and ready to take its place among the stars. The submarine glided silently through the dark waters towards the alien base. Inside, Jake and his team made their final preparations. Sarah distributed the weapons, a mix of human guns and reverse-engineered alien technology. "Remember," Sarah said, her voice low and serious, "once we activate the disruptor, We'll have 1 hour. We need to find the control center and shut down their defenses. Dr. Chen clutched the improved disruptor device. I set it to activate when we breach the base. It should disable their systems and give us the advantage. As they neared the base, they saw an underwater entrance. Carlos, using his skills as a former thief, managed to hack into the alien system and open the gate. Water rushed out as they entered a massive docking bay. The moment their submarine surfaced, chaos erupted. Alarms blared, and alien guards rushed towards them. But when Dr. Chen activated the disruptor, the effect was immediate. The aliens' weapons flickered and died, and the guards stumbled, disoriented. "Move, move, move," Sarah shouted. The team leaped from the submarine, taking advantage of the confusion. Jake's heart pounded as they raced through the alien corridors. The inside of the base was like nothing he had ever seen. Strange, pulsing lights, walls that seemed to shift and move, and technology beyond human understanding. They encountered pockets of resistance, but without their advanced weapons, the aliens were no match for the determined humans. Jake felt a surge of hope. For the first time, they were winning. As they fought their way deeper into the base, they began to notice something strange. Some of the aliens were fleeing from them, fear visible in their alien features. "They're running away," Carlos exclaimed after one skirmish. "They're actually afraid of us." Sarah's face was grim but satisfied. "Good. It's about time they learned to fear us." Finally, they reached what appeared to be the control center. It was a vast chamber filled with screens and strange, pulsing orbs of energy. At the center stood a tall alien, its skin shimmering with an oily iridescence. Unlike the others, it didn't seem affected by the disruptor. "Foolish humans," it spoke, its voice resonating in their heads. "You think you can defeat us? We have conquered galaxies." Sarah stepped forward, her weapon raised. "This is our planet. We will never surrender." The alien leader laughed, a chilling sound. "Your resistance is futile. Even now, our reinforcements are on their way. You will all be." Its words were cut off as Jake, seizing the moment, fired his weapon. The alien leader fell, its body dissolving into a puddle of shimmering liquid. For a moment, everything was silent. Then Dr. Chen rushed to the control panels. "I think I can figure this out," she said, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "If I can just..." Suddenly, the screens lit up with images from around the world. They saw alien ships falling from the sky, their power disabled. Alien structures were collapsing as humans overwhelmed them. "We did it," Jake whispered, hardly daring to believe it. "We actually did it." Sarah's voice crackled over the radio, broadcasting to resistance groups worldwide. "This is Commander Sarah. The alien command center has fallen. I repeat, the command center has fallen. Push forward and reclaim our world." Cheers erupted over the radio. Jake looked at his teammates, seeing joy and disbelief on their faces. They had done the impossible. But their celebration was short-lived. One of the screens flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of alien ships approaching Earth. "It's not over," Sarah said, her voice grim. "Those must be the reinforcements. We've won the battle, but the war isn't finished." Jake nodded, gripping his weapon tighter. They had tasted victory, proven that humans could stand against the alien threat. Now they had to prepare for an even greater challenge. As they began to secure the alien base and prepare for the coming battle, Jake couldn't help but smile. The aliens had mocked human resistance, but now they were the ones fleeing in fear. Humanity had shown its strength, and they weren't about to back down now.